everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for our new series of short, focused conversations on the future of travel in India called RT Next. As the pandemic continues to sharpen the focus of all our actions and forces us to sift our needs from our wants, both as travelers and as hosts who are waiting for those travelers, we wonder what's next. Yes, the world has stopped spinning on its axis for a while now, and yes, we have a long way to go before the masks come off. But when they do, will we be ready or will it be too late? So at Outlook Responsible Tourism Initiative, an affiliate member of the UNWTO, we're really optimistic about the road ahead. And we believe, even at the cost of sounding trite, that there's light at the end of the tunnel. How do we get through this tunnel together as a community and build something that is stronger and more resilient? And that is exactly why we have been reaching out to the experts and the doers, the policymakers and the policy implementers, who can hopefully help us plan for the future better, and more than anything else, give us hope. I am Shweti Banerjee, and I'm here with my colleague Shonali Chatterjee, who will now introduce us to our very first guest for our very first episode of RT Next. Shonali?
Thank you so much, Shweti. It is our great pleasure to introduce our first guest of the RT Next series. Many of you know her as the inspiration behind and the face of Dekho Apna Desh, the digital video series launched by MOT India in April 2020. But she wears many other hats, and she wears them very well. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Rupinder Brar, Additional Director General Tourism, Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. Welcome, Ms. Brar. How are you today?
Namaste. Thank you. Thank you so much, Shonali, for a lovely introduction. And thank you, Shweti. It's always a pleasure to be conversing with both of you.
Thank you so much for joining us, ma'am. And it's actually, we're very lucky to have you on the very first episode, because we are really hoping that you sort of give us direction today and tell us a little bit about how you think the future will pan out for us in India. Of course, the National Tourism Policy, the draft of the National Tourism Policy, has been prioritizing sustainable and responsible tourism as a guiding principle for the industry. But as somebody who's had a ringside view of the impact of the pandemic in the past year, what do you think the future of tourism at large in India, and responsible tourism in particular, will look like in 2021 and 2022, as well as perhaps in the mid and long term as well?
So a lot of questions in that one question, and a lot of thoughts need to be also therefore gleaned out. I will try and be brief and try and touch on few aspects. As we all know, when the pandemic came last year in March 2020, and the entire world was kind of sort of brought to a grinding halt, including India. And for tourism to happen and for hospitality to happen, travel is essential. And the moment travel itself stopped, you could not have been doing anything in the space of tourism in the real sense. And therefore, one of the largest, I think, things that came to assistance was technology and how to use technology. Now, what is interesting in the use of technology is that I think the trade as well as the governments and travelers were all happily introducing technology into their lives, because it was leading to so much more of informational outflow. It was allowing you to make so many better choices, the dynamic pricing and everything. It was helping the ecosystem of travel and tourism to become far more brisk. But no one knew that it's going to be an essential part of creating an outreach in terms of a product, a process, and promotion. All three aspects coming into the space of virtualism, so to say. So the way forward, and in some senses, and like they say, to every cloud, there is a silver lining. The silver lining is that the adaptation and adoption of technology to the entire ecosystem has been mandated. And it is not a choice anymore. So that's where I think we can look at it as a positive externality of COVID, that it made us reboot, rethink. It literally stopped us in our tracks. That were we doing something not so right in our lives, and were we violating Mother Earth in some ways? And therefore, when we talked about responsible, you've mentioned responsible, sustainable, and eco-friendly and ecotourism. These have been words, and in smaller quarters people have been working on them. There has been narrative building within the government how to be responsible. But I think again that's going to be the second positive externality, the first being the role of technology. The second is going to be that the level of responsibility towards responsible tourism is going to enhance phenomenally, because that's been a big learning for everyone, that somewhere it is the violative practices that we've all sort of organically allowed to grow around us, which are staring in the face. And I think for a lot of us, it was not that we were trying to harm the environment, but sometimes you just mindlessly do a lot of things. And it's given a great sort of opportunity for all of us as citizens. And it doesn't matter whether you're working for the government or whether you're working in the field of tourism or hospitality, it's about everybody who lives on Mother Earth. To be just reminded of the small little things, that why would I not carry a water bottle from home, and why would I want to depend on a disposable one-time use plastic bottle? I think so. That's the second major learning that is coming from the pandemic. The third, and that's a very important one, particularly for a country like India, where tourism was, anyways, also moving towards what we call as experiential tourism. It opens up a tremendous opportunity for us, where we in our cultural space have so many languages, the food, the dance, the art forms, the sheer choice of the flora and the fauna, the rivers, the landscapes. There is nothing that we don't have, starting from the cold desert, which is unique in Leh Ladakh, to the run of Kutch with the salt marshes, to the mangrove swamps in Sundarbans, to the the so-called normal forests. There's so much in India. And I think for us, it's a fantastic opportunity to open up the homestays and the bed and breakfast units, because that's where the real India really kicks in. Instead of, and nothing against the large big hotels, because they have their own space, and large events, conventions, exhibitions, they need to continue to happen there. But for that experiential traveler, somebody looking forward to really looking at how do you make your food, your macher jhol will be different from the macher jhol made elsewhere. The parantha I will do will be different, the dance forms, etc. So I think that's where COVID has allowed us to delve into our own treasures far more. And we hope that we will be working together with the industry to take this narrative for India forward in the weeks and months to come.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Ms. Bragg. As a primary shaper of tourism policy in the country, we of course look at the ministry's lead in rebuilding the sector which has been severely affected by the pandemic. For example, the RBI has recently opened up a liquidity window of 15,000 crores for tourism and allied sectors, which at the moment are still bank dependent. But in terms of the ministry, what steps are you looking at taking to ensure that funds will be made available to micro, small, and medium enterprises in the tourism sector?
Thanks for raising that, Shonali. In fact, that has been an area of huge concern, especially because not only have we dealt with the first phase of pandemic, but we are, I guess, in a sense, still in the second phase. And while some of the worst days seem to be behind us, but pretty much still caught in that, and travel within the country also extremely restricted right now, with all state governments having their own protocols, everybody insisting on RT-PCRs, and correctly so. So how are we to assist an industry which is clearly a beleaguered industry as of now? So the government, as you rightly pointed out, has through the RBI has stepped in with liquidity. There has been the ECLGS, which has also come in handy. But looking particularly at the micro, small, medium enterprises, we within the ministry have something called the Market Development Assistance, which has been revised both for the domestic as well as the overseas tour operators. We are also looking at supporting them in creating platforms, including the content for certain strategic sectors. For example, we've had our meetings with heritage, because heritage, both tangible and intangible, is a huge wealth of our country. So we would be taking on the expenses of creating the content, where they would drive the thematic of the content, but we actually take on the expenditure. But more importantly, because you know that there is a whole ministry that looks after MSMEs, they and we are working very closely. In last year, they had set up the Udyam portal, and 20,000 entities registered initially, and then that number only went on increasing as to how to get financial support from MSME, particularly for all our small operators, whether they are directly tour operators or if they were running smaller enterprises. So that is now being expanded. Last week, we had a meeting with the additional secretary there. So they are setting up with us a discussion as to how to support in the times to come the smaller cultural hubs. So the idea being that if there are a set of homestays at a particular place, then could we have one common cultural hub which would showcase the local cultural wealth? It could be a dance form, it could be music, it could be theater, it could be anything. And how to ensure funding for those cultural hubs. Now, through their own local offices, they already do have some schemes, but there is a lot of discussion happening that could we include the ecotourism and the homestays as part of that funding, and also enhance the funding for the cultural hubs so that there can be more of such hubs. And we also look forward to integrating it with our own IITFC program, where you would have locals trained in capacity building about talking of their own unique cultural spaces, and also become the tourist facilitators in that progress. So the effort is therefore to provide the funding from the MSME, and we in a sense would become the content partners as to what is it that should be showcased. So very soon we hope that something more will come out of that. But through this platform, I would want to reach out to everyone that do please go on the MSME portal. It helped everyone last year. We did a whole set of workshops because we realized that a lot of our stakeholders were not even aware of these schemes of MSME. And we are more than happy to collaborate with them once again and bring to all of you all the schemes that MSME runs. There are quite a few at the central government level itself. And we must create an outreach to our industry to benefit from those as we sort of look at more comprehensive solutions for our stakeholders.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. It's lovely to see the different departments are talking to each other and joining forces to come up with tangible plans going forward. So it's really reassuring to know that people are not working in silos, and they're sharing knowledge, they're sharing information. I know we it's a question that I, even before I ask, I know that predictions are hard to make, but when post-vaccine travel begins, what is your sense, ma'am, in terms of timelines? What is your sense? When do you think gradually domestic tourism will pick up, and even for inbound? Because I know, I mean, a lot of people are also wondering, right? I mean, there is a 12-month to 18-month period that I think a lot of people are already wondering whether the inbound tourists will come back before end of 2022. But what is your sense? How do you think it'll pan out?
So if I take cue from what happened last year, and if we could partly at least translate that experience into this year, it's going to be a slow start. And all the local administrations would need to look at the conditions in their own dominions and see that how are they able to deal. And I think we look at the next couple of months with gradual opening up and also the confidence restoration that will come in the traveler. The only good thing, though, this time being that, like last year, I remember on 9th June, we actually unveiled the guidelines and the recommended protocols, which were done in collaboration with the Ministry of Health, and their guidelines were incorporated. This time, that groundwork is already available to us. And all the entities, whether they be the airlines, whether they be hospitality units, whether they be restaurants, they already have their systems in place. And therefore, this time around, we are not going to lose time on setting up those systems. So it's more a question of studying the ground level numbers actually going down and the plateauing being witnessed for a considerable number of days, which of course we would have to leave the specialists to decide as to the stabilization needs to be seen for 7 days or 14 days or 21 days. But once that happens, then the restart of travel would be immediate. Because if you remember last year also, the jump in domestic tourism was quite amazing. And if we started looking at figures of December itself and also to the sanctuaries and nature parks, the numbers were extremely, extremely encouraging. Jammu Kashmir itself witnessed so much growth in numbers in January that we were getting inputs from the various hospitality units that they were booked to the T till the end of April while we were talking in January. So domestic tourism definitely will revive back really fast is our belief. And the belief is based on the fact that the systems being in place, all the people will need to be reassured by the medical authorities that it's safe to move. Of course, albeit keeping the mask and the social distancing, everything else that is required in these times to be respected certainly would need to be respected now as it was last year. Inbound, again, now
No, I
that requires a study of both the sending country and us as the receiving country. We are in discussions with the Ministry of Home and Health on that, and would have to depend on our own readiness to take in people, but also the level of the pandemic's impact in the dominions from where we are hoping to get people in and their level of vaccination. So there are, of course, thoughts being expressed that could we be looking at opening for people who are vaccinated with both their jabs done? No decision yet on that, since it hasn't been adopted as a universal regulation globally. So every country is looking at it from their perspective, and we will wait for the Ministry of Health to really take a call on that. That is that good enough for us to be looking at welcoming people. The enabling in this case, of course, would be done by the Ministry of Home because they are the ones who actually decide when to open the visas. But yes, it will be a collaborated decision in terms of inputs coming from everyone. We being the beneficiary ministry from that perspective would obviously be hoping for an early opening. But having said that, it cannot be in vacuum and it will have to be in the context of the prioritization of the health of our own citizens and the health of anybody who's planning to come and travel into our country. So no timelines, honestly, can be given at this juncture by me.
No, absolutely. That's that's, I guess, only as much your guess is as good as ours. But we know that we're really hoping, like you said, that once there is more clarity and once there are more opportunities, that we can at least welcome a few guests by next summer. Because as we know that a lot of people are dependent on the inbound travelers as well. So thank you for that. And I think it's it's a it's a it's that kind of time. I feel like there is a sense of anticipation, and there is this sort of waiting for the doors to open. There is that sense of hope suddenly that a lot of us are feeling in the last few days perhaps. And like you said, we're really hoping sustainability and experiential travel and technology become the pillars on which we build this new form of tourism that we have the opportunity to build now going forward. So thank you so much for that. And I hope the momentum, as and when the doors open, I hope we have that momentum. I hope more people are able to bounce back faster and we can rebuild together. We're looking forward to your support as well, of course, and to the support of the rest of the states as well. So thank you so much for joining us. And we'll perhaps reconnect with you a few months down the line and see how many of our wishes and hopes have come true. So thank you so much once again, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Shoaib. Thank you, Sonali. Wonderful conversation, and I'm sure we'll have good times ahead.
Absolutely.
Thank you.